Tasty Treat Tree Stand. Isn't this fun? I so love this project. It's really easy to do, and it can be as affordable as you need it to be.
This is one of those big hat boxes. It actually says 16.25 inches by 7. This was marked at $11.59 at the hobby store, but of course they put them on sale. The first thing I need to do is cut a hole in the center. So what I do is find other circles that have a hole in the center, and I make those my templates. So this is one of those cake cardboard things that you get at the store that they put cakes on when they're going to decorate them, and they have this little perforated hole in the middle. So that way I know exactly where the center of this is. Then I've gone through and said, okay, it needs to be open enough that a tree stand can go into it. And what I've done is taken the end off one of my ribbon spools and laid that down, and then that's the center of that. So now I know where I'm going to need to cut my hole in my top. Now we have our hole in the top. These are the papers that I've selected. With so many wonderful wrapping papers out during the season, it's really like your choice of almost any theme and any color scheme that you can use. This is going to be the top surface of my stand. I'm going to go ahead and just cut this out. So the next step, which is fairly easy, is to use my spray adhesive. I'm going to spray both the top of the box and the back of the paper here so that I can get good coverage. Now, with wrapping paper, two things. You want to be careful because you can rip it, so that there is not a lot of margin for error here when you're working with the paper. But you do want to get good coverage on both surfaces, because if you don't, the paper eventually will start to peel up and you'll get wrinkles in it. Looks pretty good, so I'm ready to go. I'm going to put it down more or less in the center so that there's overhang here, because I am going to pull this over the sides a bit so that that top edge is covered as it curves around, smoothing out all of the wrinkles as best I can. So I'm just gonna go along here, obviously not being super neat, and wrap this around and down. And that's mostly just to get this upper edge covered, because I'll be gluing something to the front face of it. Score it pretty much all the way around, and I can turn that under now. So our top is covered. Now let's do the side. And just like wrapping a present, I think I will do about half of it and see if I can piece it together rather than doing one long piece. Let me make sure that this is enough. And it is, to cover the side. It's interesting how it changes the whole character of the box, just having a different color paper. The next step is to glue them on. I've sprayed the side of my box and the side of my paper. I'm going to line this up with the seam that I already have on my box. That'll help me with my halfway point. And I'm going to go around the edge, leaving this top end uncovered because the lid has to fit back on there. And I'm gonna go along and press it down as I go, making sure that I get air out of there. And what I'm gonna do here, I've got another seam. I'm just gonna crease this just slightly beyond that seam and cut that straight across. So there is the primary background color of our base. Now I'm going to use my patterned paper. I know that I have approximately 6 inches of space, probably a 4-inch wide strip, so we'll get something more or less like this. Okay, there we are. I'm going to use this silver ribbon. Try this on. Not bad. I like using white trim on this stuff a lot because the white to me represents like royal icing piping. So I'm thinking maybe something like this along the top edge and then finish it off with the gold. And that silver underneath really makes the white look nice and strong. I like that it just barely touches the top edge of my Christmas tree pattern paper. Looks very nice. All right, pretty good amount of trim. Let me find some more trim to stick on here because this clearly isn't enough. Here is a cake plate from the party store. I think it's foam in there, cardboard, it's covered in foil. This was $3.50, so not expensive at all. So a generous amount of hot glue to make sure this puppy really sticks, placing it so that it's actually centered on the plate. Well, it isn't going anywhere. Okay, so we'll call that done. I'm going to push it so that just part of the trim, the upper part of the trim, is along the side of my cake, the stripe pattern. And that will leave the little scallops to peek out over the end like that. I'm running it up a little bit higher as I go along. What I need to do to make sure it adheres is just pull it pretty taut along the curve. That helps it stick to the glue without me having to burn my fingers. It also rounds out the scallop so that the scallop will stick straight out. There it is. Nice scallop just barely peeking out over the edge. I found all of these candies at home that really work in the theme of my wrapping paper. Ooh, this is like an unboxing video. So I'll just start at my seam because this is my idea. A big giant peppermint in the middle of it all. So I would probably spread these out ever so often. I used one of each color and I decided that would work just fine. I need to glue on my last one. And of course, these are hanging ornaments. So I pulled off their little crowns and I am cutting off the little lip. I am gluing the hole on the bottom, facing down. Let's see what else we can throw on. Looks just like a highly decorated, overdone, Victorian-style lacy cake with a little bit of fun and whimsy. This was actually one of those styrofoam lollipops. I pulled the stick out of the bottom and then gently kind of pulled it apart because they're glued together. And I'm going to glue this around the opening for my Christmas tree. I always like stuff to have some sort of finish out, and that way we have this fun, whimsical sort of candy cane swirl around the base. I mean, it's a little odd that the spiral ends, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's just fine. And here it is, the finished Tasty Treat tree stand. I love this. I hope you do too. This is a great fun craft because it's mostly decorating. The most fun part about doing these crafts. You can make it your design entirely. Your color schemes, according to decorations you already have. They can be square, rectangle, anything you want. The idea is to make it your own. take a good look at all of the other ones I've done and let me know what you think, and also how you might use them, whether you're gonna make a tree stand, a riser for some home decor, or to use them as different risers on your buffet. And enjoy our tasty treat tree stand.